listening to Show X on VtWProductions.com.
Wow, so for the first time in the longest time, I accidentally played background music. Whoops. I thought that was going to be copy saying, welcome to the show, and, this is Dysfunctional Deviations, but this is actually the background music for Dysfunctional Deviations. So that's a bit weird. I guess in something a solo show is not a terrible thing. It does kind of get me in the mood, It does kind of feel like it's quite appropriate. Let me make sure the volume's not crazy, though. You'll hear me all right. It sounds like I'm on a room mic. It shouldn't. My mic's here. It's not too far away. Let me make sure.
Okay. It says I'm on the right one now, but for some reason my audio is not working anymore. Why is that? Why is it doing that? Hello, all the entire family. I'm on the air. Okay, so all the dogs and my wife all just walked in looking for something, and that was good timing. So I'm not sure why we're having these technical difficulties. Can you take the dogs with you? Very much. Bruce, out! You're going to be staying there otherwise, buddy. My dogs are very sweet. And so is my wife. Okay, hello. Yeah, no music. I think I broke that. I don't know what I did. It's done this like 3 times to me so far. So annoying. Maybe I don't know why. Oh, there we go. Hey, I fixed it. Okay, cool. Apparently, it just paused itself. Out, boys. Here, can you? Okay, on your bed. Okay, lie down. My dogs don't seem to understand the concept of a closed room. Okay, so it is better. Okay, so I'm guessing what it did was it swapped over to my headphones, because that's the default for some reason. But I really want to use the blue because that's obviously the sexy mic. So today, as you can see, is a solo show, and that means that everything is going to break, and there's going to be lots of issues. So that's good timing. I don't know if I'm going to do a whole show today. Not only am I very, very, very busy, 30 days until my deadline now for my PhD, but also I have got several technical difficulties going on, and to be honest, I'd rather spend the time gaming with you guys than I would doing a solo show. So I think I might do that very soon. Maybe do a half-an-hour show or something. All I want to do is touch on some stuff that's worth touching on, and that includes, first of all, I'm going to give out some free games in this show because we've got so many to give out. So I'm gonna give out some free games at some point. What I'll do is I'll just randomly post them into the chat, and whoever grabs it first gets a free game. Just be sure to give us a tweet out whenever you grab something for free, or share us on Facebook or something, because that's nice. Yeah, Hando seems to be the guy in the chat, so you're gonna get free games, Hando. Yeah, I've not had much of a crazy week really. I've not really done anything that isn't work as always. So one interesting thing. Well, first of all, I'll respond to Hando in the chat who said, "How's the dissertation going?" So the way it works in Scotland, we use the word dissertation to refer to undergraduate essays that get handed at the end of year, at the end of an undergraduate. But we call the end of a PhD a thesis. So I don't know if that's different in the US or different uni or whatever. But yeah, so I'm handing in my thesis in 30 days. It's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty solid. I just need to finish it off really. And so that's what I shall do. How are things with you guys? Like I said, it's going to be a short show, so if you want to send emails, you can do. But it'll have to be in the next 15 minutes or so, okay? So as for what I've been up to, I had a couple things I should mention. One is my dad had his big operation on his knee on Tuesday, so I was at the hospital with him and my mum all day, and all went successfully, and he's fine, and he's already walking around, even after getting a replacement knee. He's mad. So that's good. Go free healthcare here in the UK, because that's something we have to panic about, that's good. Also, yes, I'm in the wrap-up phase for the dissertation. It's just tidying everything up, putting it together. I've got one chapter left to go, and there's quite a lot of work needing done, but I'll get there. And as well as my dad's operation, I've been reading. Well, actually, I finished reading a book called "Why Marx Was Right." Now, I've never really studied social systems in my life, right? It's not something I've been particularly interested in, and it's just something we're not taught in school. And I think the reason for that is to prevent any particular political upheaval. And I think ignorance on this topic is generally preferred by the government, which is kind of obvious, for some obvious reasons. So first of all, the reason I decided to read this book was, well, twofold. One, I've been reading the Eye of the World series and thoroughly enjoying it. But that being a fantasy series with fairly lengthy books, I had a goal this year of reading 24 books this year. I think I'm something like 8 or 9 in, so I'm behind. So instead of choosing another really lengthy book that's like 24, 25 hours on audio, I decided to choose one from my wish list that was between 8 and 12 hours. So this was about 8.5 or something. And yeah, Why Marx Was Right. And the second reason that I chose to read this book was because I don't understand what Marxism is, or I should say I didn't understand what Marxism is. And so Marxism was basically this counter philosophy to capitalism. And instead of being what socialism or communism is, Marxism is sort of like a step-by-step phase of capitalism to communism and how to get there. But more focusing on the class structures at place in society that were prevalent in the 1800s. So if you think about, I'm going to go a little commie on you guys today. I've not been fully converted, but it has opened my eyes to certain things. It's nice to, hearing opposing views can often solidify your own, because you know that your own personal views are founded that way. And I'm not a capitalist. I'm also not a communist. I'm probably more socialist than anything, and I'll explain why that's the case. Yes, that's the thing. Americans are very much trained to hear Marx or communism and have a bad reaction. And it's because, well, Americans invaded the commies, and there's some bad blood there, right? So let me talk a little bit about this. So, first of all, I think there's something to be gained from the theory behind what communism is, and that is quite basically, capitalism is not a perfect system. I think any sensible, even pro-capitalist would agree with. Capitalism obviously is very beneficial to those at the top. We always talk about the 1% or the 5% or the top 3 or whatever, and it means that a few people in the West, maybe the top 100 people, control the vast majority of assets, right? They control the vast majority of production. They have the vast majority of the power, of the military, of all social status, and so on. And it's a trickle down. It's a hierarchy, but the creme de la creme, controls most of it, right? A few people in the West control the vast majority of the Earth's assets. And that's mad, right? I think everybody can agree that's kind of mental. People who don't agree with that are either those people at the top, or they think they could get to the top, right? The only ones who really think that this is a good system are the ones benefiting the most from it. Everybody else is kind of just sated, right? Our appetites have been whetted. We are at a point where we are happy enough. We have enough of the most recent technology, mobile phones, laptops, video games. We go on just enough holidays. We get just enough luxury foods. We have just big enough houses, and we get new cars just enough that we're not going to rebel, right? I think most people are generally happy enough, right? We're almost lulled into laziness by it. Now, I think the reason why I would call myself socialist is not because I think everybody should be paid the same. That's true communism. I really don't believe in that. I think it's just mad to think that somebody who's unskilled or doesn't try or doesn't care or doesn't want to work or just wants to have everything themselves should be given the same as somebody who tries really hard, works hard for their family, for their friends, for their society. I don't think it should be yeah, there's a level of, you can prepare yourself for the weaker points in your life. You can make sure you have a pension saved up, and that's a sensible thing to do. You can make sure that you have health insurance as much as is possible. In the West and in America, I know that that's, not always doable, or there might be certain levels of health insurance. And I don't think that's quite far enough down the socialism tree to be really equitable and fair to the average American. I think the average American is going to be without a fair level of healthcare. I don't think there should be a point where you walk down the street and somebody stabs you, or you walk down the street and get hit by a car, or you come down with some disease that you couldn't possibly have known would come down to you, say cancer or something, right? It can happen to anybody. And then be bereft, be unable to look after yourself, and to be just said, oh, well, that's the end of your life. I think that's mad. I think that instead, these people who have the extreme excesses should be able to give some of that to the weakest in society, to those who are the most vulnerable. And that's pretty much the basis of where my thoughts are. So, yeah, I still think you should be able to earn your place. I still think you should get better paying jobs over time. I still think you should be able to, work hard for your place in society. But I don't think that you should be able to go to the maximum extent of capitalism and be Bill Gates. I think it's mad that one person can be have so much power over society that they actually are undemocratically elected to have power, right? Somebody like Bill Gates, somebody who's in charge of an oil company, has this extreme amount of power. Or somebody who's in charge of a healthcare insurance company, right? They can make decisions that affect millions of people, even though they're undemocratic. They're not democratically elected. I think that's mad. You don't think that's absolutely insane that somebody who is just rich has the power to say, no, you are not allowed to get your healthcare. No, you can't have your surgery paid for by your insurance because that goes against this new policy I put in place because I think it's profitable. That's where I get really mad, right? That's where I think it's just insane. I think that things that should be deemed utilities and basics in lives, basic human rights like internet, water, healthcare, rehabilitation, education, basic military, defense, police, healthcare, emergency services, all these kind of things, even representation in law. All these things should be covered just by existing, right? There's enough surplus in our societies that we can cover that. It's not as if we're going to be handing out Mercedes to anybody who asks. We're not asking that every single person gets the exact same amount as their neighbor. I think you should still be able to earn your place in society, and those who work harder should be rewarded. There's no reason why you shouldn't have a BMW, a nice 7-bedroom house. There's no reason why you shouldn't go on holidays with your family. But my point is that if you make millions a year, you don't need millions a year. You probably need hundreds of thousands a year. Yeah, exactly. As Tom says, where's my flippin' Mercedes, Ken? Where? But my point is that, you have all these people in society who are, they're the cleaners. They're the people doing your laundry. They're the ones looking after your kids. They're the primary educators of kids. They're your Uber drivers. They're your taxi drivers, your public service. All these people at the bottom level society that are very important. I don't think anybody would ever look around and say, yeah, we don't need these people. Ask the rich. They need them the most, right? They're the ones expecting the lowest tier of society to make their income. Right? They're the ones that are in control of all these different assets. They're the ones that are expecting the floor workers in Walmart to go and make their money, right? I think that they would accept that these people are the most important in our society. So why don't we care for them? Why don't we just say that, let's make sure that they have a base income, a living wage. Let's make sure they have their pension covered, their health care. I think it's the very basic. And I think there's also an argument to be made for automation. If we are at a point in our society where we have machines and AI covering the basis on a lot of these boring daily tasks, and people are going out of work, well, you know what? The work's getting done. The people are being fed. The crops are being harvested. Sadly, the animals are being slaughtered. Where the food's being cooked. The plumbing's getting directed automatically. Water's being cleansed. If we don't need as many people working, we've already got the stuff going. It's not as if the work's not getting done. We can still give them a base income. And I think people who are unskilled shouldn't be, looked down upon and as people in society who are unproductive. They should be given a basal income. They should be covered. They should still be given, food and water and healthcare. No, they shouldn't be driving a BMW. No, they shouldn't get a 7-bedroom house. But they should be given the basic requirements to survive. And they should still be treated as humans and given respect. And you know what these people can be? Something that we lack in our society now. And something that we look down on. Our actors, our musicians, our artists, right? The people who can be creative in our society, the photographers, the valets, the people who do stuff because they enjoy it. Why don't we encourage that by having some kind of basic income for everybody? And that's kind of where I lie, right? That's kind of where my politics lie. I don't think that everybody should be equal in terms of our income. I think it's mad to try and do that because people would just stop trying. However, I think that our culture would flourish if we had a basic income for everybody. I think our human rights, on a sheerly ethical basis, should be in a point where everybody has a basic requirement to survive, has a basic income and such. And that's kind of where I got to. Hando says, at what point should education be paid for by the individual? I don't think individuals should pay for education at one point, maybe in 100 years' time, right? I don't think automation is quite at that point that we can afford that. I don't think we could ever encourage every single person to leave their jobs right now and re-educate. That's not currently viable. Maybe in 100 years' time when that becomes a cultural norm, we could get there. I think right now, primary, secondary education, through high school should all be covered as it is. And I think university education should be covered where it's needed. So when we say that we need, 500,000 new computer programmers next year, we should be giving out 500,000 computing degrees to the highest skilled coming out of high school. I think if we need 300,000 new nurses, they should be paid for. Why would they pay for themselves? Society needs them. Taxes will cover that. That's literally, if we literally need nurses, we need to pay for them. Just pay for them, right? They'll pay for themselves in the future anyway. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Doctors. We need more doctors. We need more psychiatrists. God, we need more psychiatrists. There's not enough therapy in the West. Mental health is a booming issue, and we need more psychiatry. And again, hey, that will pay for itself, right? I mean, the creme de la creme of these people who get the free education will go into the private sector, and they will make bank, and they'll pay huge taxes. And that means that they will pay it back. That, hey, the top 5% of psychiatrists and psychologists out there will probably pay the other 95% because they'll be making good money. They'll be getting the other extremely high-paying clients, and they'll make their money back. And it's the same with the rest of these. I don't see why we would ever consider making them... Imagine, just for a moment, that somebody who is going to be the psychiatrist that cures... comes up with some kind of research that can cure some kind of depression in certain individuals, right? Or can solve PTSD issues, or can solve postpartum depression, right? Somebody who comes up with some novel solution that can mitigate that issue across the millions. Imagine that. And they don't go through uni because they can't afford it, and instead they go into something else. Maybe they just go into general social care. And we miss out on that. I think if we provided more to the education sector in a sensible fashion, where we say, it kills innovation? Well, I don't think so. I don't think this kills innovation. There is still I think Communism would kill innovation because, again, there's no need to try. You're going to get your basic income and then that would be it. Everybody's equal, why bother, right? I think if you go pure capitalism, yes, there's innovation, but at the cost of our ethics, right? I think the middle ground is this socialist viewpoint where we say, Tom, that guy's got a free education is innovation. I think if we have free education up to an extent where we need it, and there's a point where people are still paid extra for, being good at their job, it means that they can try harder and they can innovate. Nobody's saying that you can't go out and make a company and make bank. Yeah, you can do it. But you also got to do your part for society in doing so. You got to give back a chunk, a percentage, depending on how much you make per year, right? That way you can say, yeah, we're making bank, I've got my nice car, I've got my nice third holiday home, whatever, that's fine. But I'm also paying a huge chunk in tax, and it's covering all my workers' healthcare effectively. Right? Why not? That's what I'm going for. So Marxism was the discussion of how workers' rights for the bottom layer could be given. I'll get to your point in a second, Hando. How these lower class, the lowest class, were working in these big factories at the time in the 1800s, and they were the means of production, right? If they walked out, there would be no capitalism, and yet they were the worst paid, and they had these horrible workers' rights, and it was basically slave labor. They were working like 18-hour days, 9 to 5 wasn't a thing, Monday to Friday wasn't a thing. These guys were working all day, every day, and they didn't get holidays off. I think they just got Christmas, right? Labor Day, that kind of thing. And that was mad. And that's where Marx came about. He was saying, look, this is madness. Let's do something where these, if you guys walk out, you can seize the means of production. You will be in control. You can take back control. And at the point back then, I think that was a fair message for him to say. I think it's a bit extremist now because we actually do have a lot of workers' rights now. I don't think a revolution is necessary. I don't think we need to, grab our arms and fight the government. I think that's madness. We have a democratic system in place. We have basic human rights for, at least in Britain, we mostly have human rights. I think there's still a lot of things that need work, but I think we can use the democratic system to do that. And I don't think we need to rise up, right? I think we just need to spread this idea of basic human rights for everybody, and that, hey, look, we are rich in the West, we have the resources, let's spread them around to help those who need it, and let's all get a little bit richer. And then let's actually take pride in the fact that we'll be working towards a communal effort, Yes, not only would you get your own individual return from working hard, as you do right now, but you'd also know that you're benefiting the worst in society. I think it's a twofold reason to try and innovate more and to work harder. So Hando says, so Ken is telling us to vote for Bernie Sanders. Yeah, proof yet again that Scotland is interfering with US elections. Yeah, never mind Russia, guys. It's Scotland. It's Scotland that's interfering with the Russian elections. That's a good tweet right there. Yeah, so Bernie Sanders. I'm not going to try to talk too much about US politics. I don't follow it too much. I'm not a Trump fan. I think he's mad. And I think he's, and just for the environmentalist point of view, he's mad if nothing else. And I think a lot of people would agree with there that climate change is a thing, is scientifically a thing. He's against it. That's enough reason to not vote for the guy. Screw everything else. He's destroying the world single-handedly, and I think that's something to be worried about without adding anything else to the mix. Bernie Sanders, he does have a lot of socialist points from what I see, and yeah, I'd probably vote for him. But you know what, guys, go vote for whoever you want. Go vote for whoever you think is right. But just keep in mind that keep your priorities straight. Keeping this world intact is number one. Before any social class cause, not before any taxes, before before you start panicking with SJWs, or whether you start panicking about the other side as well, the far right nut jobs. Don't. Think about the environment first. Think about the fact that, he's opening coal mines, and he's removing legislation that requires us to check vehicles for exhaust fumes. Think about this stuff. It's madness. That's the stuff that's really, really concerning. It's easy to look at the current topic of the day with Trump, the dumb thing that he said. Don't. think about the environmental stuff. That's key. That's number one before anything else. And you'll see the light. You'll see what comes first. Would I consider running for president in 2024? I'd love to be a politician one day, actually. I really would. I think I've said too much dumb stuff on air, though. I think somebody would sit and listen through all these archives and go, oh, in 2015, Ken said that, I don't know, he jokingly made an anti-feminist joke, and therefore he can never be a politician, right? That's what would happen. Even if I was, fighting for the best things in the world, that's just the way the world is. I've got too much of an online presence. I would love to be a politician, though. I think it'd be fun. Just debating all day. That sounds awesome. Right, I just wanted to briefly mention I've been reading that book. I read that book, so Why Marx Was Right. I don't think he was right. I think he was probably right at the time, but the book kind of fights for him being right now. I wouldn't say so. Marxism does have a lot of good stuff with feminism, with racial rights, with LGBT rights, at least in the modern version of Marxism. However, I don't think it's appropriate. I think it's too revolutionary, and it moves... I think it would be uprising for a fight that isn't worth fighting right now. If you want to fight for environmentalism and rise up and overthrow your government, fine. That's a good reason. But for class struggle right now, it's a bit crap, but it's not the end of the world. I think there's a lot of change that needs to move forward, but right now, honestly, save the world. Humanity can be second. We need to make this Earth livable for longer first before we do anything else. Anything else. Marianne Williamson talks in her books about taking LSD. You could run as Democrat. Yeah, that's true. But I think the problem is that I've pendulum too much. If I ran like left wing Democrat type thing, they'd point out the right wing things I've said too much. And if I went right wing, they'd say, "Oh, you're far too liberal." The problem is I'm centrist, and I'm influenced by what I listen to and read. Weirdly enough, I actually take in what other people say and consider it because I'm mad that way. So that would be far too much of a bad thing to be taken on as an MP or a congressman or whatever. All right. So I'm just going to check our emails. We have it's saying that apparently my streaming is finished. That's weird. Don't know what's going on there. I can see you guys still hear me, so that's fine. So I have a couple articles I was going to mention, and I'll do that briefly. Okay, so a couple things that are interesting to me, and a couple other things that I just think will be worth mentioning for anybody else who's interested. So, first of all, two articles both kind of relating to the same thing. So, first of all, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Now, as you guys know, I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan because it's not real anime and it's something close to my childhood. Sorry, I'm very thirsty. I've been renovating all day. So, Dragon Ball Z... This is from IGN. Dragon Ball Z story has been told and retold probably over 9,000 times. Now that we got that obligatory over 9,000 reference out of the way, here's everything you need to know regarding the upcoming Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. So it's being developed by CyberConnect 2, who I don't really know of. If you're unfamiliar with CyberConnect 2, it says chances are you're probably not a huge Naruto fan. Yeah, that's correct. As is the developer behind the fantastic Naruto Ultimate Ninja and the Ultimate Ninja Storm series, it's well known for the Dot Hack games. But if you ask me, the one game that's most relevant in discussion is Zero's Wrath. Okay, whatever. It's an action RPG. In the departure to previous DBZ games, Kakarot is a full-blown action role-playing game. That sounds awesome. Complete with character levels, a world to explore, NPCs to talk to, side quests to take on, items to use, moves to equip, and so on. Oh my god, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I want from a Dragon Ball Z game. I've been saying this for years. In fact, I definitely said on this show before that the ideal Dragon Ball Z game would be one that you can fly around the world, and there's quests to do. You can level up. You can like focus more on like the powers, or the flying, or the speed, or the strength, and then you get moves based on all that. And then you can have racial-based systems, so that you can be Namekian, or you can be Saiyan, or whatever, and you get different stuff for each one. That sounds awesome to me. And even if it was an MMO and it sort of did a DCU type thing, where you get different ways to move, right? So you can have the flying, you can have the gliding, you have the teleporting, you can have the fast running, all that stuff. I'd love that. That would be so cool. Like if you had Skyrim but Dragon Ball Z, that would be cool as hell. So that's really exciting. One of the coolest aspects of the world exploration from what the author of this article experienced was the ability to sense energy levels in order to pinpoint areas of interest. That's cool. With NPC characters having small blue auras, and with big story-driven enemies like Raditz having massive red auras. It was a really neat intersection of something that is true to the show and something that's super useful from a gameplay perspective. I love that. That's so cool. It is still a fighting game as well. It's important to note that even though DBZ Kakarot is an action RPG, it is not far off from the previous 3D Dragon Ball fighting games as far as combat is concerned. The fighting system felt very similar to the previous Dimps and Spike developed Dragon Ball games, and also a little bit like CyberConnect 2's own Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games. It's still a 3D arena fighter with the camera locked on your opponent, giving you the freedom to move around and away and around your enemy. There's a button for melee attacks, for key attacks, for one to charge your meter, dodge, super dash, guard, and if you hold down the shoulder button you can utilize one of the 4 special moves like Kamehameha, a Meteor Smash, one of the super cool gut punches that they always do in the anime, and more. There's non-canonical elements. So while it seems like the main story of DBZ Kakarot will follow the main plot of Dragon Ball Z to a T, it also seems like there's going to be a plenty of room for the developers to play a little loose with the series canon through side quests. In the short E3 demo, we caught a glimpse of that with Goku reuniting with Aiter, who sends him a little quest to destroy some robots that was causing a ruckus. So that's really neat. I was wondering whether it was going to be a sort of unique standalone thing. Because I know Dragon Ball's canon is kind of funny whenever they do anything new, they kind of just diverge and do their own thing. So I was curious to see how that would work. Goku can fish with his tail. Okay, it sounds fun. It's an RPG after all, right? You can fish. There are side activities, such as being able to engage in collecting Z-orbs, a form of currency, hunting deer to collect meat, which can be eaten to give a boost to melee attack, mine ore, which can be used to look at the area, which can, I don't know what's for, and also areas to hunt dinosaurs, trade in materials to a trader, and cook food. Oh, this is so what I want! Oh my god! There's also a world map. Apparently, there's not much information on that yet, though. And they'll feature backstories that were not in the manga either. So that's pretty cool. Now, the next article said Kakarot will add to canon with new character backstories as well. So that's pretty neat. I'm looking forward to that too. Right, let's check on the IRC. Copy says Green Party! Yeah, I love the Green Party, and... Okay, I'm not going to talk about the US because you guys are so dumb with your two-party system. I would totally vote Green if I was in the US, because you know what? The only way to get out of the two-party system is to vote for it. No tactical voting. No, don't talk about this or that or the current issues. The two-party system's a big thing, and Green Party is an environmentalist thing. At the very least, getting more votes in the Green Party would encourage the two other parties to start doing some green stuff to steal the votes over. So, vote Green. That's what I would recommend, personally. And here in the UK, I also vote Green as much as I can, because the Green Party have gained a lot in the most recent election, and like I said, it's the number one thing. I don't really care if I don't agree entirely with their social policies, or if they're too gentle, or whatever, SJW as people say. I don't give a crap. Environmental stuff first. That is key right now, and that's most important. Hando says, just come out and play guitar on stage and talk about WoW, you'll do fine. So I should run as an MP as a geek. I should just do the show on as a debate. I love it. Hando also says, I heard a funny joke that Marianne Williamson looks too much like Michael Jackson. I don't even know what she looks like. I couldn't say. Copy says, I've given up on trendy things, but I'm Canadian, we have more than two parties. Good. Wise. Okay, now that's something I've been interested in as well. World of Warcraft successor Titan was cancelled because Blizzard didn't control its scope. So we know it was cancelled a while ago. We talked about this before, but we didn't really hear much about the why. So this is I think this is just I don't know if this is an opinion piece or what, but we'll see. So reported by VG247, Mike Morhaime, co-founder and former president of Blizzard Entertainment, revealed this during a speech at Game Lab in Barcelona, Spain. So this is new. This is news. We tried really hard not to announce any games that weren't ready to be announced, or we weren't sure that we're going to release them, said Morhaime. Titan is an exception to that, where we wanted it to be our next generation, our sequel of sorts to World of Warcraft. We took a lot of our senior developers and put them on this project, and I think that we really failed what was controlling scope. It was very ambitious. So that's not really surprising. Because, you know, trying to up WoW. WoW has everything in it, right? It has everything. Like, if you think of a thing, it's there already. Even if it's supposed to be or not. Goldshire. So, you know, that's a thing. Right, so I mentioned I'm going to hand out free games. This is the first one. So, I hopefully you've been paying attention to the chat. Because it is there. Go grab your free game. Go grab it. Grab your free game. And I'll delete it from my show notes as well. So we're down one as well. That's in Steam, by the way. That's a Steam key. So if you get the game, do us a huge favor. Give a tweet out to our Twitch channel. We really appreciate it. Give us a thanks there. Say something along the lines of, hey, thank you very much at VtW ShowX for the free Steam game on your show. And then link the show. We'd appreciate that. That'd be great. So that's Shadow of Mordor. Please grab it and let us know that you've grabbed it as well, so that we know that the key's been redeemed. All right. With that, I think that's most of the show because I think we should go on Discord and just hang out there. So you have been listening to ShowX live on VtWRussians.com. Send us an emails to showx@VtWRussians.com and take part in Discord and have fun with us. You can also support us on Patreon.com/ShowX. You can also follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/GoHex for me personally, twitter.com/VtWShowX for the show, and twitter.com/DocDead for Wayne too. And I think that's everything. Thank you so much for listening in. And just before we end the show, there is one more Steam key for you guys. Enjoy. I think this is a Steam key anyway. I don't even know what that game is. I've never played it, but there you have it. All right, you've listened to the show. Please do enjoy. Hopefully, see you guys in the IRC. No, that's not where we're going. The Discord. And I'll see you all next Sunday. Bye bye.